Hello, this is a brief overview of the PEBL online platform and its relationship to the traditional PEBL native platform. I'm going to do three things here. First, discuss the online version and its relationship to the compiled version. And then I'm going to show you how to run tests from the PEBL test battery online without logging in to either try out or even to collect data. And finally, I'm going to show you how, if you can log in, to create a study and use a study that's been created to collect data and have the data uploaded to the platform so you can have access to it. So for more than 20 years, PEBL has been a compiled piece of software that runs on your desktop. It's expected that you have access to the computer. You usually have a researcher in the lab supervising. You know exactly the screen size and what language and what interfaces are available. And one of the biggest resources PEBL has is a large test library, or the test battery. It has over 100, maybe 150 tests in it. And many of them are customizable and can be used for all types of purposes. But one of the biggest requests I've gotten for at least 15 years is, can I run this in a web browser? Up until recently, the answer has been no, but maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I started experimenting with a platform called WebAssembly and Mscripton that allows you to compile programs to run via JavaScript inside a web browser. But there were some technical obstacles to that up until very recently, and a few years ago they implemented capabilities that allow us to run PEBL fully within a web browser. And we've implemented this and made this available to the community via the PEBL Hub online. So there's a lot of things, if you're putting it online, that you have to worry about that you didn't when it was in a lab, like how am I going to get the data? What is the screen size? How do I set parameters? What keyboards are people using, and things like that. And so one of the big challenges was to migrate the old tests to this new platform. They ran fine, but there's a lot of little things that we have to do to tweak them to make it work. And so we've launched with about 50 of the traditional 100 tests. These are any improvements we made to run them online are reported into the desktop version. So you run exactly the same version both online and on your desktop. In fact, you can take a version on your desktop and upload it, or you can take a version you're running online and download it and run it. It's the same code, and it's actually the same underlying software except for a few technical issues. So furthermore, this all runs on the client side within their web browser. It doesn't run sort of connecting back to the server like some online games do until the very end when it tries to sync data. Okay, so there's a few ways you can use and run PEBL online without even logging in. I'm logged in now, but without even logging in, you can go to the test library page and view all of the available tests. You can see right now we have 53, although some of these are demos. And you can examine them and run them within the browser. So we'll take a short test here. Go to view details. So this gives you some details about the test. For many tests, it'll give you example data output and things like that, interpretations, but we can try this without registration. There's two ways. One is just if you want to evaluate and see what the test looks like, do the try demo, and it opens up this. Either way, it opens up this page, which you can do the research mode or demo mode. We'll go to the no login research mode. If you run this, this will create a URL that you can give to a potential research subject, and they, maybe via email or via another system, they can follow the URL. It will let them run the test, and then give them instructions for uploading or sending their data to you. So we can specify the language. This test in particular only has one language. I can give an email or a URL to respond to. And then instructions, please upload or email me the data in zip format below. So it creates a generated URL that you can copy and use. This just launches it for your own testing purposes, or we can copy it into an email or another platform that will launch this test. So now if I launch this, this is what the participant will see. They've got a unique participant code. It does some testing to see if their system can handle this. We can start the test, and here's the test, the same test you would see on the native version. When it's done, it takes you to this page, which gives you an email or a link to a URL that they can visit to upload their data. They can view or download their data here and send it to you. So this might be appropriate if you're just testing something out, if you want to have someone look at a test, piloting, or maybe you're a student who wants to run a study and don't want to log in. So it gives you the ability to do this, but it's a little tricky because the research subject has to download their data and get it back to you somehow. And obviously, a lot of people might take the test and never send it to you, or they might try to take it multiple times to get better, or they might even download the data and edit it and send it to you. So there's some problems. You have to have a lot of trust in your users for this to work, but it probably could work out if people want to test it this way. But for the most part, this is just for demonstration purposes. If you get an account, if you create an account on the PEBL Hub, you can create a free account which will let you run these tests from the hub, and at the end of the test it will automatically send the data back to the hub so you can browse through it and look at it. So I'm not going to show you the details of creating a study right now. There'll be other videos and other help that lets you do that. If you go here, that'll give instructions for doing this. But I've created a study. A study is just a collection of tests, and it has a number of tests, including the numeracy tests that we looked at and a couple others. You can run individual tests from this with this URL. Either you can set it up so you auto-generate a code, or you give a specific code, so you could assign people codes and send them this URL, or put it or manage it within another system. Or you can have the experiment manager handle this for you. So there's a notion of test chains that I can create a sequence of tests, and if I and it'll run that sequence. So right now this is an active test. If I hit, and what that means is it's available to collect data. So for management purposes, you're not able to edit anything when you're collecting data. You have to pause it, and now it's pause state, so I can add tests, remove tests, change things. And if I change anything important, then it'll create a new snapshot, so I can always know exactly where what the conditions were that I collected my data under. But so now if we go to the test chains, I can edit the test chain, and you can see let's see, this chain says cannot edit a chain when study is disabled, only draft. Okay, so I've got to, instead of resume, and then I'll pause. I think this is, and then go to edit mode. Now I can see the chain, and what this has is a consent form and then the numeracy test and a completion. This completion would allow you to link back to like Sona or Qualtrics to record that this part of the study was complete, and it can move on with a new study. If we go back here, we can try out this chain. It'll warn you that it's not going to record this data because it's just trial mode. This was the consent form. Here's the test. And this is just for trial, so I could look at the data individually. Or if I now go live, I can copy this. This would be what you would put in your system or send to a subject. They consent. Now they can run the test. I'm running with, I put all 5s in there. I can close, then they close this window. If I go back to the study and browse data, oh, somehow it logged me out. This is the study. I have 2 participants. One I ran a little while ago to just test it. I could browse through the data and see individual copies of this test. Now, I actually ran twice on the same browser, so it used the same subject fingerprint. So if someone runs multiple times, you actually can see what happened. If they try to submit data multiple times, that's what it will look like. And I can look at individual data. Here's the first time I ran. This is the second time I ran. You can see all these 5s, which is what I entered in. So in this version, we can manage a study by creating multiple tests. You can create chains of tests, including consent forms and instruction, have it sync back to your server to give credit, and each test will automatically upload its data to the website that you can then browse when it's done. And you can also get some sense of how many participants and sessions and data files were being run in this test, and when to understand how your study is progressing. All right, so that's a basic overview. There'll be other videos for more details of creating studies and creating chains and parameter editing and language customization. But for now, that's our basic overview of the PEBL Online system.